Hello. I wanted to just briefly kind of talk through a discussion post assignment and what I'm looking for when you write up those 3 paragraphs. I'm going to make this video kind of general so that it can apply to any of the discussion post assignments that you do. And that should work because most of them are kind of following the same structure and the same format. So what I like to do with the discussion post is it serves as kind of a weekly check-in, make sure we're all still here, we're all still working through the material together. So that's, one purpose of the discussion post. The way I like to use it to make it useful, though, is more than just a check-in, is to take something that we did in lecture and kind of pull it and think about it a little bit more. There's so many great resources now. I mean, some of these existed, pre-pandemic, but really because we all had to move online for a period of time, there's so many great resources from museums now in terms of like online exhibits that, really weren't there before. So I really like when we can use those museum exhibits or ways to see historical artifacts that would be even more awesome if we could like go visit the actual place and see them in person, but getting to see those images and seeing the artifacts and kind of thinking about what they are is also helpful, even if it's not like physically kind of right in front of us. So for each of the discussion posts, you're going to write 3 paragraphs at least. You might write a little bit more, and that's fine too, but at least 3 paragraphs. You want to make sure that whatever I'm asking you about the link that you're looking at, that you address that part of the assignment. Usually there'll be, again, like maybe a museum that you're going to visit, a historical site that you're going to visit, some historical images that you're going to look at. So make sure that you, and I'll ask you a question about those pieces. So in your discussion post, make sure that you address whatever that exhibit or artifact is that I'm asking you to think about. I usually assign a number, like how many artifacts you need to look at or how many images you need to look at. So, look at what those are, look at what that number is, make sure you've addressed that. And then in all of the discussion posts, I also want to know that you've actually looked at the lecture and you've thought through the lecture too, and you're making those connections between what you're seeing in this exhibit or these artifacts to what you learned in lecture. So always make some specific connection back to something in the lecture. Now, if you feel like, I don't know, how can I link this artifact? You should be able to, but if you feel like you can't, that's okay. Just tell me something you learned in the lecture or something that you want to know more about or something that you were surprised about in the lecture. Now, it's certainly a stronger discussion post when you can make a connection between something that you're seeing either in the museum or on the image and connecting to something that you learned in the lecture. That's going to be a stronger answer. But again, if you find that you're not able to make those connections, the main thing for me is just to see that you have actually studied the lecture and that you're learning from that material, because that's the material that makes this class unique. That's the material that I've put together, that I've written or curated from different places. And so I want to see that that's helpful and that you're learning from that. So demonstrate that as well. You can always send me an email if something isn't clear and say, hey, this isn't making sense to me. Tell me give me, can you explain this in a different way? I'd be happy to do that. I send out announcements as reminders. You can always reply to those announcements and ask questions there. Again, if you do that, it's going to be public. So if you want your question to be private, then you need to send me an email. There's the discussion board that stays up throughout the semester. You can always put questions in there. You're also more than welcome, because you can't see other people's posts until you post. You're also more than welcome to write up something and send it to me and say, hey, is this what you're looking for? Am I doing this right? and I'm more than happy to read it and give you some feedback and say, yep, you're right on target, or no, you need to do this, this, and this. So again, for a discussion post, you want to make sure, read through those directions. I usually have a specific number of, when you're looking at either the artifacts or the exhibit or what have you, a specific number of pieces that I want you to write about. So look for what that number is, write about wherever that website is taking you, write about whatever you found on that website. Make connections back to the lecture. Sometimes there's just one lecture, sometimes there's 2 lectures. If there's 2 lectures, make sure that you show that you've looked at both lectures. And then also don't forget, you need to respond to the post of 2 of your classmates. And these posts should be a paragraph and link each, the response post. And you need to, as if we were in a face-to-face class, have a conversation. Say, oh, hey, you're looking at it in this way. I didn't think about it that way. I like how you did X, Y, and Z. Not just that's a great post, but explain what's great about their post. And then maybe ask them a question. Think about how you looked at it compared to how they looked at it. Again, something that's a substantial bit of dialogue. So your 3 paragraphs will be your discussion post, and then you're going to want to respond to 2 other students in about a paragraph each. I think I've given a pretty general description to kind of what I'm looking for in those discussion posts. If you have any other questions, though, again, please send me an email. We can meet via Zoom. I'm always happy to help. Take care.